welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to be addressing what's called bias-motivated acts on some of our college campuses. My guest of the segment is Shirley Weber, a member of the State Assembly, and also the chair of a new select committee dealing with this issue. Thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thanks for the invitation. Appreciate being here.
I think a lot of us don't realize that there are some of these, quote, bias-motivated acts going on, and I guess the impetus for this new select committee on the campus climate was a pretty bad, incident at San Jose State last year.
Yeah, it was quite a horrible incident that happened to a freshman at San Jose State, where he was taunted and basically assaulted by some of his roommates who not only called him names and put up swastikas and Confederate flags, but then in addition to all that, chained him, used a bike chain around his neck more than once, I believe, and barricaded him in his room. All because he was African American. And so that was one of the most egregious acts we've seen. But we've had other minor incidents of racial attacks and incidents on our campuses throughout the state.
And have you seen some of them? I mean, you have 40 years in as an educator.
Yes.
Much of that at San Diego State and other places.
Yeah, I've seen it go and come.
How prevalent is this?
I've seen it go and come. I've seen, when I first got to San Diego State over 40 years ago, I saw a number of things where people, Klansmen would come and put literature around our doors and put the N-word in the dormitories and things like that. More recently, we saw this thing called the Compton Cookout that became very, the images were there. We had nooses hung in the library at UCSD. More recently, we've had some incidents at UCLA with attacks on Asians. So we're beginning to see a rise in it. It goes and comes, and so we want to make sure that this committee looks at it and start thinking of ways that we could basically intervene as a legislature to create some policy maybe that might prevent it from happening.
I know you haven't held your first hearing yet, so it's still a fact-finding mission for you, but do you have a sense that the universities are not coping with this very well?
Well, we're trying to find that out. We find that there are some places that do it extremely well, that have a lot of programs that they intervene, they do things with all of the students, but in addition to that, they have a policy that says, when these things happen, this is what you do. And that's our concern. It's difficult to prevent things from happening on campuses because kids come from everywhere. But when a student is attacked like this and does not feel that there's a place that they can go to get assistance, to have their issues heard, and have quick intervention, then we have a problem. And so our concern is not only that it's happening, but what happens when it does happen. What's our policy?
And the committee, or the select committee, what's likely to come out of that
in
terms of intervention? Legislation?
What we hope will happen, we'll basically be able to see where the good things are and the things that are not so good happening on our campuses. We may end up with legislation pretty much like we have policies about sexual harassment, where we may ask every campus to develop a policy, a procedure that needs to happen that basically identifies for students what's unacceptable in terms of behavior, and then look at what they do in terms of intervention. How do you then begin to policy-wise in terms of campuses, develop a policy that will say, this is what happens, what's there, who's responsible, who has the responsibility to intervene, to make sure that students feel safe and comfortable on our campus, and that when things happen, there's a quick and remedy for it.
Because just writing a report, putting it on the shelf is not going to do anybody any good.
No, it will not. And I think we are sufficiently concerned as a legislature, because as Democrats and Republicans on this committee, we're sufficiently concerned that we have to do something to make sure our kids are safe on the campuses.
All right. Shirley Weber, member of the State Assembly from San Diego, thank you very much for being with us.
Well, thank you.
Talking about this important issue.
Yes, it's very important and appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thanks to our viewers also for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on YouTube, also on My Government on Demand. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.